Hey guys, this is Shadowq, and today I am going to be going over the Winter's Bite 3.4 patch notes, and a bunch of skins came out and new god and stuff, but I'm going to be talking about exclusively balanced changes because that's what I can evaluate the best and analyze for you guys. So let's get going. Um, doo doo doo. On a side note though, this Apollo skin, I don't know what it actually looks like in game, but that face is probably something you'd see in a nightmare. So I don't know what the skin's supposed to be. I didn't see it in the game, but watch out, he's coming for you. Anyway, moving on. Um, First gameplay change is in Conquest. They removed one boar from the Fire Giant side boar camp, and this is basically to nerf soul laners. Soul laners are just like really, really strong at the moment, and nerfing the amount of experience they get is a good start. This won't really change the overarching problem of them just getting too much farm and being the strongest role in the game coming into fights, but I think it's a good start. I approve of this change completely. Not much else that's to be said about it. It's a solid way to do it too because it's just like farm that solo laners mostly get on their own, so it's not really nerfing other roles too much. But I approve of this change greatly. Moving on, item changes glowing emerald. All items in this tree have had their cost reduced by 50. This tree is definitely underpowered. This change will kind of help, I guess. At the end of the day, it won't really matter, but good start, I guess. Small balance changes like this are good. Oh, and at the end of the day, 50 gold like this won't really change the meta or anything like that, but it's a good start since the items are pretty borderline viable already. Hydra's Lament, the passive effect no longer has a cooldown. That's actually really interesting. That means that every single time you cast an ability, you'll be able to proc Hydra's Lament, which is pretty cool. This item got a lot better from this, and this is probably the quality of life change that this needed. I don't think it'll be too strong after this. It's really hard to see, but it's at least the quality of life change, and I approve. This is a very, 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 very good way to buff it. It was really, really clunky that it had an ICD before, so it's a smart change from high res. Massa Moon. Increase physical power from 30 to 50. Oh my god, first off, buffing any item 20 physical power is absolutely insane. That means that the item was way, way, way too bad before, and now it's like probably going to be decent. I don't even know the exact stats on it before, but 20 physical power is like that means they misevaluated the cost of the item by like hundreds and hundreds. So, like in order for them to have buffed it this much, so it's really tough to see where this item will be now. But that is a huge change. Like that is ridiculous. It's probably the biggest change they did in all the items this patch. Like that's an insane buff to any item. Probably the biggest I've seen in a while. Moving on to Rage. Reduce cost from 2600 to 2400. Um, Rage is really solid. It's being picked up a little bit less now because Chins is better, so I guess that's putting it in line more to where it has been. A lot of characters are getting Chins now. I don't think this will change that. Maybe it's too much of a buff still. I think Chins is probably a bit too strong, but that being said, Rage is now competitive with it again, so I guess it's a... I don't know, this is such a random change. Crit's still a viable option. It seems really unnecessary, but I guess Chins is just too OP that they had to buff Rage. So, I guess that's the reasoning. I guess I think it's okay. Nothing will really change with it, though. You'll still probably get it at the same time as you would before. Rite of Asclepius. Increased aura from 15% to 20%. Pretty inconsequential. And reduced cost from 2660 to 2600 flat. Again, pretty inconsequential. You will get the item the exact same amount of places, which is basically never except for late game healers, which like I don't know, there are a million options then. This change is kind of nice for the item, but not game changing in the slightest. It's a small buff, I guess. It's moderately significant. You won't really change anything though. Route of Healing reduced cost from 1530 to 1500. Basically, nothing's changed there. Sanctuary can only be activated while casting another ability. That's good. To me, this is a bug fix. Being able to cancel a Mirror Altar or Chrono Assault by using Sanctuary is something that should have never been in the game in the first place. So I think that that's a great change, and probably should have been in the game to begin with. Wind Demon increased healing debuff duration from 3 seconds to 8 seconds. Honestly, I didn't know that it was that short of a duration, and this is where all anti-healing items probably should be. This is a very good change. It's hard to see where this will make the item viable. Against healing comps, you actually will pick this up now. That's a pretty significant change. Because healing outside of combat is important, and having the debuff last longer on you is a significant nerf to the item. So design-wise, think this is a very good change. I approve of this completely. God changes. Let's see. On her, while our fix to impale helped out, on her is still struggling to find his footing. This patch is slightly reducing the cost of his clear, while also improving the benefit of his passive. Um, so on his passive, whenever he hits a spear on anybody, they get a prot debuff. Before it was 15, now it's 20. That's really good. 5 pen is like actually an insane amount to give honor for free. Not it's not with everything because the first hit won't have the pen, but it's actually pretty damn significant. Honor might see more play after this. It's a pretty small change all in all, and he still has the same strengths and weaknesses as his kit did before, but that's pretty nice. I think that's a good way to buff him too. Makes his passive unique, rewards people for playing smart into it, and it's kind of a small buff that was needed to bring him in line with other characters. So I think it's a great change. Impale decreased mana cost from 70 scaling to 110, from 70 scaling to 90. I don't see this mattering too much. Quality of life, I guess. Sure. Bakasura, 8 minion, fixed being unable to eat small minions at the blue camp in Conquest, so basically bug fix, irrelevant. Chalk, reduced cooldown of his ult from 90 seconds to 75 seconds. It's actually really interesting. I don't think this will change Chalk's viability at all, but this is a pretty unique way to change him. Having a short cooldown on a weak ult like this is kind of smart, because it lets him use it for utility for escaping and stuff like that, which lets him be more aggressive, so I kind of like where this change went with this. Chalk's got one of the weakest ults in the game, and having it on a shorter cooldown to compensate for that is kind of smart. So I think I like this change. It's pretty unique. Makes him a lot tankier now too, because he'll be able to ult out more frequently without getting as punished. That's a pretty cool change. I guess I approve. Chalk's kind of a weird character though. He needs to be able to scale into the late game better, and they've made some changes that'll help with that too, like the increased slowness 3 in previous patches, but he still won't be viable. I don't think, not even close. But decent start, I guess. Hercules, they say, we're experiencing a lot of people to be surprised by this one. Hercules has been one of our lowest performing gods across the board at all skill levels this season, and we think everyone feels it as his playtime is slowly decreased to a trickle. We're improving the benefit of his passive as he levels, and also starting his base attack damage and movement speed more in line with other warriors. Additionally, we're reducing the cooldown of Earthbreaker to better line up with its combo paired ability, Driving Strike. So let's see. Increased base movement speed from 370 to 375. That is pretty irrelevant, I think. I don't know. That is a 1.3% movement speed increase. Sure. Base attack damage from 35 to 39. That might help his early game a lot. Better for invading and stuff like that. That's way more of a solid change. But 1% movement speed, really? I guess. Scales with movement speed items, though, but sure. That's kind of weird that they would do that small of a movement speed change if they're going to do one at all. Strength and Pain. Increased physical power buff from 30 plus 1 per level to 30 plus 2 per level. So at level 10, he will have a bonus 10 physical power, and at level 20, he'll have bonus 20 physical power. It's a moderate buff. I think that's a smart way to nerf people. Just giving them small bonuses to their numbers is like a good way to slowly bring people that aren't viable back into viability. So I like changes like this. That's good. Earthbreaker reduced cooldown from 15 to 14. Doesn't really matter. Guess they wanted to combo with his 1, but or is that his? I think that's the icon for his 2. I don't know what the icons are and the names are at, but that's got to be his 2. So I guess they wanted to combo with his 1. So I guess design-wise, that's good. Not really a buff, but Herc will be in the same spot after this as it was before. I don't see him getting too much stronger from this. So all in all, let's say at level 10 in the mid-game, he will have 4 base attack damage and a bonus 10. So he'll have 13 more damage per auto or whatever. It's not too bad, I guess. He'll still be where he was before. Probably never picked. He'll be slightly better, though, so it's a small buff. Kukulkan is getting so much needed love this patch. We're adjusting the mana cost on Whirlwind, a big community request, securing Kukulkan's position as the king of clear, and also improving the scaling in late game potential of his Zephyr. So the magic power scaling is increased by 15% on his Zephyr, which is his 1, and the reduced mana cost on his 3 is very substantial, 70 scaling to 150 from 70 scaling to 110. I like this a lot. I think that his mana costs are way too high before, as does every single other person in the community ever. So I guess I approve of this change, if only for quality of life. This will probably not bring him back into viability. His mana was not the reason he wasn't picked. The reason is because he had an inconsistent ability to hit his damage, and that's kind of it. Like, he just didn't have a way to guarantee to hit his ult, and even if you could hit it in CC, then like other mages can do the same thing without as much setup. Plus, it makes his mid game really weak if it requires that much CC, which only happens in the really mid to late game. So like, I don't think it'll be viable still, but this change is very, very, very smart. His mana costs were just way too high before, so now he's like, I don't know. Now he's not awful. Also, the part of the reason that I don't think he'll be good still is people are actually buying meditation now into the mid and late game. They will get used on the mages still, and in season 2 this never really happened, but in season 3 it's happening a moderate amount, and he's still not going to be like he still wasn't if he wasn't picked before this change, he won't be picked after it because he has more mana now than if this change were to happen in season 2. So if he like I can't see this making a real difference as far as his viability goes, but very good quality of life change. I approve. Guan Yu, Conviction increased cooldown from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. That is a random way to nerf a god. Like, that's literally a random change. I did not see this coming at all, especially not on that ability. Actually, let me check what ability Conviction is real quick since they didn't put an icon in. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm not sure if that's his dash or his heal. Okay, Conviction is actually his 1. That changes things a lot. Part of Guan's strength was being able to spam heals out of combat, and I no longer see this as a random change because I thought Conviction was his 2 for a second there. I think I like this change. Basically, out of combat healing it's just running amok in Smite. Whether it's strong or not's not really the issue, but like if you can disengage out of a fight for a while, being able to spam heal up is kind of insanely strong. And this change is very, very solid because it lets you not be able to do that as efficiently. So I approve of this change greatly. I think it is a very, very, very solid change. And this might... Like, Juan's like really, really good right now. It's kind of insane. And out of combat healing is something that's kind of out of control. And this helps that a lot. But on a side note, I do want to talk about how this affects Guan in a different way. Outside of viability of anything. I guess it kind of affects it, but... So whenever Guan hits his 1 or his 2, it decreases all of his cooldowns across the board by 2 seconds. And having his 1 have an increased cooldown, he gets this less often. So this is like an equivalent. It's like a weird way to look at it, but this could be like an equivalent of like a 3-second cooldown increase if you just like look at it over time, which is a weird way to look at it, but it's more than just a 2-second nerf on his cooldown. It's bigger than that. Because let's say you do hit an ally with this heal every time, it's going from 8 seconds, and you don't dash on anyone, it's going from 8 seconds to 10 seconds, which is a much bigger percentage increase than this. Like, because of Guan's passive, this is actually a much bigger nerf than it looks on paper, is what I'm trying to say. I approve of this change. I don't like out-of-combat healing. Guan is pretty damn strong right now, so good change. Very good. Ra. Increase the lifetime of his passive, Speed of Light, to 15 seconds from 10. So in the middle of fights, he will be stacked up no matter what. But now he has to worry a little bit less about using a spell to keep up his passive, like, which might help him mana-wise so he can heal more. I don't know. This is a weird change. So if this actually does affect Ra, it'll be because if you're in the middle of a fight, there are some times where you have to back out, and you don't want to just like throw your 1 out there. Like the way I look at this change is, it lets him farm a little bit more in the early and mid game, and in the mid to late game, it lets him save mana. Because if you do need to keep that passive up in case an assassin goes in you or something, and you, like, let's say you don't want to have it drop off you, then you can sometimes just throw out another ability to refresh the stacks. But that wastes mana, and Ra, since he's a healer, all of his mana matters, every bit of it, because you want to be able to just heal up outside of combat. So I guess that kind of helps him in that regard. So early game it helps him farm a little bit more, and in the mid and late game it helps him heal more, I guess. But it probably won't really fix the issues that Ra has. His heal's 2 over time, and he can kind of get all in really easily. I don't think this will really change his viability, but it's a pretty interesting way to change him. I like the quality of life change though, because I don't like how he had to like use mana to keep this up outside of combat. I like the change. It won't really change anything though. Raijin fixed the bug with Soul Reaver, sure, just a bug fix. Rama. Rama regenerates astral arrows faster and consumes less mana when using Astral Strike. So increased rate of astral arrow regeneration from 1 arrow every 15 to 1 arrow every 12. And for his 1, reduced mana cost per arrow from 25 to 20 per arrow. This will help his wave clear. Sometimes he doesn't have enough arrows to clear lane, and now he'll have basically infinite arrows. The mana usage is actually pretty nice too. This might even let him be more aggressive because sometimes when you roll in, you don't have an arrow, and now you almost always will. So which means you can roll and get that movement speed and not get the attack speed slow because of the way his 3 works, and then it's actually a pretty cool change. Makes him his laning phase much stronger. Lets him be able to box more probably. I kind of like this change. Rama's not really seeing too much play right now. It's a small way to buff him. A cool one though. This might actually make him see more play. I like this change. The final change, other than a bug fix tooltip error with Uller, which I'm not going to go over, is Thanatos. And in general, they change 2 things. Increase base physical protection from 11 to 14, and increase base attack power from 37 to 39. This is probably one of the smallest changes they've ever done, and Thanatos will be in the exact same spot he was before. It is like something, sure, but it's very small, so he'll be in the same spot. Anyway, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button, if that's what it's called. The thumbs up thing. Sure. And subscribe. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.